Hello, 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 and welcome to the Cells and Circuits Combined Animation and Tech News Stream. I'm your host, Chibeze, and we're going to just get into it. So, tonight we have quite a few topics to talk about. We're going to be talking about the latest in the Google Pixel line of devices that was just released today. We're also going to talk about the new animation releases for the month of October, and we're going to talk about Crunchyroll possibly expanding into live TV. So, if any of that sounds good to you, let's just jump right into it. So, first topic that we have tonight is going to be about the Google Pixel devices. So, for those of you who don't know or were somehow avoided all of the leaks, Google had an event today for their Pixel devices, specifically the Pixel 8, Pixel 8 Pro, as well as the Pixel Watch 2. Um, and so all of these devices just got released today. They're available for pre-order. And after this video, I'll have or after this live stream, I'll have some affiliate links for or if you want to purchase any of these devices. But for now, let's talk about them. So the Pixel 8 Pro, or we're going to start with the 8 Pro since that's the flagship, that's the highest end one. Um, yeah, we're just going to start with that one. So the Pixel 8 Pro, I mean, first off, it has a beautiful it has a beautiful design, I would say. It's pretty much or they pretty much refined it to where now like the cutout for the cameras is now uniform, or it now covers the entire camera suite. um and I think it just looks cleaner that way, as opposed to like if I hold up my 7 Pro, I don't know if you could see it. Um, it has like two holes. One of them is for the main, and one of the other cameras, I can't tell you which one is which. Um, and then there's another hole for just one camera. But I think, just having one pill shaped hole for all of the cameras just looks better in my opinion. Um, so um, so as far as like I mean, other than that, it almost looks the same. It just has more rounded corners at like each of yeah, or it just has more rounded corners. And honestly, I mean, I think it looks pretty good. I mean, most Android phones kind of look the same nowadays from the front. It's just from the back, it looks different. Um, or there are just slight differences. And then also, it's got a temperature sensor. You're probably wondering what that hole on the bottom right is. Um, on the camera bar, that's the temperature sensor, which we could talk about in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, the Pixel 7 Pro, it looks good. I'm sure it probably feels good in the hand. I don't know, but I'm sure it'll probably feel the same as the 7 Pro from last year, just with more rounded corners. But let's get into the specs. So It has a 6.7-inch Super Actua display, which I don't know about these names, guys. I don't know. But the Super Actua display with 120 hertz refresh rate is or yeah, it's got a variable refresh rate from 1 to 120 hertz. Um, it's an LTPO OLED display. It's got a 1344 by 2992 resolution, so 20 by 9 aspect ratio, which is kind of weird. There is kind of a weird resolution, but like most phones have like either a 20 by 9 or like 18 by 9 or some weird aspect ratio. So, I mean, that's par for the course at this point. It's got Gorilla Glass Victus. Um, it's got the always on display, and it's got up to 1600 nits HDR, or the brightness goes up to 1600 nits in HDR and up to 2400 nits peak brightness. Um, it's got a million to one contrast ratio and HDR support. Um, I mean, a lot of this, I mean, some of this sounds like, a big upgrade from the Pixel 7 Pro, especially the 2400 nit peak brightness. I don't think the Pixel 7 Pro gets that bright. But like most of these, or I would say most of these are probably the same as last year. Um, though don't quote me on that. I don't know. I mean, I think the 2400 nit peak brightness would definitely help with reading in the sunlight and everything. Um, and so, like, let's look through, let's look through more of the specs. I mean, the dimensions, I don't really care about those because it's almost the same as the Pixel 7 Pro. The battery is got, or they're claiming beyond 24-hour battery life. Um, I guess we'll see once people start reviewing the phone. Um, and then it's got a 5050 milliamp hour battery. Um, and it's also got fast charging up to 50% in 30 minutes using a Google 30-watt USB-C charger. And I was reading about this. It seems like they actually did improve the charging speeds. So the Pixel 8 Pro will actually use all of the 30 watts, or at least very close to it. So that's good. I know charging speeds were definitely a pain point in past Pixels. Ooh, that's a pretty nice alliteration there. But anyway, charging speeds were definitely a sore spot in past Pixels. And then you also have like fast wireless charging, Qi certified, and battery share, which is wireless and isn't wired, unlike the new iPhones. Which I'm surprised Apple hasn't added that to their iPhones. You would think they would, but whatever. We're not talking about Apple. We're talking about Google here. So as far as memory and storage, we got 12 gigs of RAM, and from 128 gigs all the way up to 1 terabyte of UFS 3.1 storage. You got the Google Tensor G3, and then you also have the Titan M2 security coprocessor. So I mean, you have you have all these things to add or that kind of just add up to like a nice pixel experience. And I didn't even mention the 7 years of OS security and feature drop updates, which is huge for any Android phone. Um, I can't speak on the iPhones because I'm sure Apple like supports iPhones just or Apple supports iPhones like for years on end. So I'm not sure if it's the longest support window of any phone, but I know among Android phones, it's definitely the longest support window. And that kind of relates to why they've used um, their own silicon, the Tensor, as opposed to the Qualcomm Snapdragon series. Because if they were still using the Qualcomm Snapdragon series, they wouldn't be able to hit 7 years of OS security and feature drop updates. So hopefully Google sticks to this and actually supports the Pixel 8 and 8 Pro up to 2030. I don't know. We will see because I mean, this is Google we're talking about here. I mean, how many stuff have they killed over the years? So and then you also have like the camera specs, which I'm not I'm not much of a camera guy. I'm not much of a pix or a picture taker. Um, of course I do take pictures when I go to things like concerts or conventions or things like that, but like other than that, I don't really take a whole lot of pictures all that much. Um, I don't know. Maybe I'm just weird. Um, but I mean, the camera features are interesting though. Some of the ones I'll go through are Magic Editor, which allows you to actually select an object in a photo and actually just move it to a different uh, spot in the photo, which now kind of questions the legitimacy of photos. Like, oh, is that photo actually real, or did you like use your pixel to actually just edit it to make it look or to make it look better? And speaking of making things look better, you have Best Take, where if you're trying to get a group shot and not everyone's smiling at the same time in a photo, you can actually take you can actually have multiple or you could take multiple photos and the phone will actually just recognize the faces and try and stitch together a photo where everyone is smiling based on specific photos in which each person is smiling. You can then have like just one. You can have one photo where everyone's smiling. It's bananas. I mean, we've seen this in a or apparently in a Nokia Lumia phone that did this a while ago. The one that had like the huge 41 megapixel sensor. I don't know what it's called. Don't quote me on that. But um yeah, I mean just like those features I think will be a or like game changer for people especially the Best Take. I think that's going to really be useful for people who definitely take group photos or even families. So I think that would be I think that would be pretty cool. And then and then you also have like the rest of these features um like Magic Eraser, Real Tone, Face Unblur, just all these photos that have been in Pixels before. So I mean, like it's the Pixel, like their cameras are probably second to only the iPhones in terms of, well, actually they're kind of best in class in terms of stills. Um, but what's interesting is now they're making improvements to video, um, because they recognize that that is an area where they're lacking in terms of features. So the I think the biggest thing that they announced today was Video Boost, to where if you upload a video taken on your Pixel to Google Photos, and use Video Boost, it'll take some time to process that video, or it'll take some time for Google servers to process that video, and then it'll regurgitate a better looking video based on Google's color science and stuff like that. Um, It'll be nice to see if they have like any of the real tone color science in there, especially for people who, well, look like me. um, so yeah, I mean that's really going to be a game changer for people. And then you also have like audio magic eraser where it'll isolate the subject's audio versus like the background noise, and it'll kind of lower, or it'll cancel out the background noise, so you can focus on the audio of the subject. So if there's like construction going on in like the background, or if there's wind blowing, or if there's like a dog barking or something like that, you know it'll or it'll or a audio magic eraser will, erase that from your video. So that's pretty cool. Or we'll see in the reviews how that or how that actually works. And some of this won't be coming, or some of the features, both for both pictures and videos, won't be coming until a feature drop in December and beyond. So we won't even get to see that at launch. There will be some that come to the Pixel 8 and 8 Pro at launch, but others will have to wait for feature drops on those. Um, anyway, so we also have like, as far as the sensors, the newest one is probably the temperature sensor. Like, if you want to take the temperature of like certain objects, you can do that. And they also said that they're seeking FDA approval to take the temperature of humans. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so far, I mean, it seems like a pretty useful feature. I don't know how many people are actually going to use it, but it seems like it'll be a useful feature, especially nowadays, now that like COVID is a thing, and especially now that we're in flu season. I think that will be pretty useful. But yeah, as far as like anything else, ooh, we got Wi-Fi 7, so that's nice. Um, as far as like other features to come to the Pixel 8 Pro, I mean, that's pretty much it. Or I mean, like it doesn't look it doesn't look all that different from the 7 Pro, but like the the magic of the Pixel has always been in the software. So and there are always good software improvements year over year for Pixels. So you just you just have to actually use the phone in order to fully get what is new about the Pixel. But we'll have to see whether or not it's worth switching over or whether or not it's worth upgrading, especially if you have a Pixel 7 Pro or Pixel 6 Pro. Um, but if you have any of these Snapdragon pixels, yeah, I could see this, or I could see the Pixel 8 and 8 Pro being good upgrades. And then everything I just talked about, except for the temperature sensor, um, because that's not on the regular Pixel 8, but um, yeah, everything else is coming to the regular Pixel 8, so that's good. Oh yeah, I should mention the colors. Um, the colors are obsidian, porcelain, and bay for the Pro models. Um, I think the bay color looks really good. But I should mention that the Pixel 8 Pro comes in a matte finish, whereas the Pixel 8, the vanilla Pixel 8, comes in a glossy glass finish. And so, like, the obsidian also looks really good because, matte black. Like, who doesn't want a matte black phone? But the bay is definitely the most interesting color of all of the Pixel 8 Pro phones. As far as the regular Pixel 8, you have hazel, obsidian, and rose. I could see rose definitely being the more popular color. Um, though hazel looks pretty good. Like they all look pretty good. If I was again the regular Pixel 8, I would probably get the obsidian color, but I'm just a guy who likes black phones. What can I say? Um, anyway, I mean, it would be really cool if any of the Pixel phones came in red. I think that would be awesome. But, or maybe that's just me because my favorite color is red. So I don't know. Um, but yeah, the Pixel 8 and 8 Pro, definitely let me know what you think. I should mention that the regular Pixel 8 comes in 6.2 inches and only has an Actua display. So not a super Actua display, and it has a um it has a 1080 by 2400 resolution, so a slightly lower resolution than the Pixel 8 Pro. Um, but other than that, I mean, oh, and it only goes from 60 to 120 hertz um, instead of 1 to 120 hertz like the Pixel 8 Pro. So, yeah, I mean, other than that and like I mentioned, the temperature sensor, I mean, that's pretty much it in terms of the differences between. Oh, I should mention that hmm, the Pixel 8 Pro only comes in 8 gigs of RAM, and 128 and 256 gigs of UFS 3.1 storage. See, as I'm looking at this, I'm starting to notice more of the differences. And then um, it looks like the Pixel 8 regular doesn't have, or it doesn't have one of the cameras. It doesn't have the telephoto. Yeah, it doesn't have the telephoto camera, um so yeah, other than those things, it looks like it's pretty much the same, as like the features are going to be pretty much the exact same. Um, the battery is going to be smaller than the Pixel 8 Pro because it's a smaller phone. Obviously, the display is much smaller. You got a you got a like or you have a different refresh rate, or a different variable refresh rate from 60 to 120 hertz. You have a lower resolution screen, but like it's a 1080p screen, so like um, you're still, or it's still good enough. Um, and so yeah, I mean, other than that, everything else is shared with the Pro. So I want to get into price. The Pixel 8 starts at $699 for the 128, or the base model, 128 gigs of storage. And then the Pixel 8 Pro starts at $999, so $1,000, um, for the 128 gigabyte model. Though you can actually spec it up. Um, you can actually spec up the Pixel 8 Pro to go up to a terabyte of storage. So, yeah, let me know what you think of the Pixel 8 Pro, and the regular Pixel 8. I think these are going to be fantastic phones, as long as Google actually gets the software right and doesn't have a whole lot of bugs plaguing the phone, just like they used to in like pretty much every single Pixel that has come before it. So hopefully they get that software in check. Uh, Um, and if there are bugs, which there probably will be, they get those fixed immediately. But we'll see. We shall see. Um, anyway, let's move on to the Pixel Watch. So the Pixel Watch, or I should say the Pixel Watch 2, um, it actually comes, um, or it actually has like some meaningful upgrades, um, primarily with the sensors. So you can track heart rate, skin temperature, and signs of stress. So these are all like sensors, or as you're seeing right now on the screen, these are all sensors that weren't on the original Pixel Watch. So I think that's pretty good. And these will definitely be helpful, especially for people who, have, or have like, you know, are in very stressful situations, especially like with your job, or maybe a relationship, or maybe or maybe just like um, any other stressful situation that you can think of. This will definitely help with that. Um, I definitely appreciate that. And it'll also be able to track, or because of these sensors, it'll be able to track your heart rate more accurately. So that's pretty good. And then, like once we get into the specs, we could talk about battery life. But um, in terms of like, or in terms of like connectivity, you can also, or safety, there's a new feature called Safety Check. So, like you can set a timer for when you're away, and like if you haven't gotten back in a certain time, um, your location is going to be shared with emergency contacts. So that'll be pretty good, especially if you want, um, or especially if you have, someone in your life who really like cares about like where you're going and where you are, and just yeah, it definitely it'll definitely help. And then like also your or you can share your medical details in case of an emergency. Um, and then like first responders can find out if you've had a fall. Um, and then you can also or some of these safety features work even without a 4G LTE connection. Um, so so that'll be pretty nice. Let's see. I think oh, there are new bands for the Pixel Watch. I'm not sure if these will be backwards compatible with the Pixel Watch 1. I'm sure they will be, but I'm not or I think they will be just based on like the fact that it looks like the locking mechanism is the same. But don't quote me on that because it may be different for each watch. It would, but it wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense for to just get bands that are only compatible with the Watch 2 and not with the Watch 1. So yeah, and like it seems like there's a new watch band color, specifically the bay color, just like the Pixel 8 Pro. So if you are getting the Pixel 8 Pro in a bay color and you want a watch band to match, you have or you got the Pixel Watch too. So there we go. But I think probably the most important spec upgrade for the Pixel Watch 2 is definitely going to be um, the Qualcomm 5100 chip, or I should say the Qualcomm W5. I think it's called the W5 Gen 1 or something like that. Either way, I think it's good that they're using or that they're using a Qualcomm chip for their watch because now that Samsung has entered into the smartwatch chip race, it has forced Qualcomm um, to make better chips in that regard. So yeah, yeah, I mean, and like the Qualcomm chip also allows for an always on display with battery life of you know up to 24 hours. So I think that's pretty good. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a solid. I think the Pixel Watch 2 might actually be worth the 1 year upgrade from the Pixel Watch 1. I'm considering trading my Pixel Watch 1 for the Pixel Watch 2. Let me know if you're thinking the same thing. If you're thinking that, or are you going to get a Pixel Watch 2? Um, if you are, let me know which watch you're coming from. Are you coming from the original Pixel Watch, the launch last year? Are you coming from an Apple Watch because you're maybe switching to a Pixel phone and you want a watch to go with it? Definitely let me know in the chat or in the comments if you're watching this on demand. So next up, we have the new animation releases for the month of October. So There are a lot of new animation releases this month, and honestly, this is probably one of the most stacked months of animation releases um in a while. So, let me just go through each of them and I'll especially or I'll get in depth on the ones that I'm most excited about. So, first up, because I didn't know that Fooly Cooly Grunge and Shoegaze were both going to be just 3 episodes at the time that I did the new animation releases for September. I included Fooly Cooly Shoegaze in this list, even though it are on, or I guess in Adult Swim's eyes, technically premiered on the 30th of September. Um, but um, but now it's but now it's October. And so because it premiered so late in September, um, I decided to add it to this list. For October because I mean, most people are probably going to, or like, let's be real here. Most people are probably going to be watching Fooly Cooly Shoegaze on Max. So, in that regard, it's an October release because it technically got released onto Max in October on October 1st. So, um, but I just wanted to add Fooly Cooly Shoegaze in there because I didn't know it was going to be like that soon. Or originally I thought Fooly Cooly Grunge was going to be 6 episodes and Shoegaze was going to be 6 episodes, just like previous Fooly Cooly seasons. But it turns out that hey, Grunge and Shoegaze are both 3 episodes long. They say it's a business decision, or according to Maki Terashima Furuta, the president of Production IG here in the US. So, yeah. Fooly Cooly Shoegaze. It's out now. The first episode is out on streaming. So definitely go check it out if you haven't. And then next up, there's Jessica's Big Little World, which is a Craig of the Creek spinoff. That premiered just 2 days ago on Monday um, on Cartoon Network. It'll be coming to streaming October 7th on Max. So this Saturday it'll be streaming on Max. So if you haven't seen it yet, just be patient. Just be patient. You could wait a little bit and it'll be on streaming soon. Um and then next up, there's Undead Unluck, which is an anime that's coming to Hulu. And that is just or that is based on the manga of the same name. Um, I couldn't tell you, or I couldn't tell you what the story is on that, but considering that I believe it's a Shonen Jump anime, like I'll watch it. Shonen Jump has come out with like some of the greatest manga and anime in history. So I'll definitely give it a look when it comes out. Um, and so next up, we have Pantheon season 2. And I should probably put an asterisk around this because um, as far as like being here in the US, I still don't know if Pantheon season 2 is going to release here in the US on the 15th of October, but it is going to release on Prime Video in Australia and New Zealand on the 15th. So be on the lookout for that. But I loved Pantheon season one. Um, it was a great show that talked about basically just like or it explored the concept of like what if you can upload a human consciousness or a human consciousness to the cloud, and what are the dangers um that are attached to that. So like if you haven't seen Pantheon, I highly recommend watching it. um it's available for purchase on Prime Video, at least here in the US. It looks like if you're in Australia and New Zealand, it might be included in your Prime subscription, but don't quote me on that. Um, but yeah, either way, watch Pantheon. It's great. It's worth your time, I promise. Titmouse killed it with the animation on that. So yeah, definitely watch it. And then next up, we have Rick and Morty season seven. That's coming out on the same day, October 15th. Um, a lot of controversy surrounding this title for obvious reasons. If you know what happened with the co-creator Justin Roiland, um, so we'll see who the new voices of both Rick and Morty are once the season premieres on the 15th. Adult Swim is trying to protect um, those new voice actors because you know the Rick and Morty fan base has not really been the best fan base in recent years. So I'm hoping I'm hoping that these new voice actors or I'm just wishing the best for these new voice actors. And I hope they don't get harassed. Because that's or harassment is never fun. It's never fun to deal with. I know I've had to deal with it my fair share of times. It's not fun. Um, but yeah, Rick and Morty. I haven't caught up with it, especially season six. I haven't caught up with it, but maybe I'll watch it, especially now that I have Max. I and it's also on Hulu too, so I could watch it there. But either way, yeah, Rick and Morty season seven is coming out on the 15th. I'm hoping um the new voice actors for both Rick and Morty do well. But yeah, I mean, from what I've heard, especially in the trailers, they sound kind of spot on. Um, you know, almost like there are a couple of instances where you can tell it's a different voice actor, but other other than those, like if I was a like just a casual viewer who like didn't know anything about like, Justin Roiland or any of the controversy surrounding him, I probably wouldn't notice or it would take me a while to notice is my point. So, anyway, yeah, that's Rick and Morty season 7 coming out on the 15th on Adult Swim. So be on the lookout for that. And then next up is probably my most anticipated series of this month and probably one of my most anticipated series of this entire year, and that is Scavenger's Reign. Um, so Scavenger's Reign, it takes place on like a strange planet where the crew of a ship called the Demeter lands on this planet where like just weird stuff happens. But I promise you, like, if for no other reason, or if you're not going to watch this show for any other reason, just watch it for the stunning visuals. It looks amazing. Like it absolutely looks stunning. So definitely keep an eye out for Scavenger's Reign. I cannot wait to watch it. Um I've been waiting for this since the original short premiered back in 2016 on Adult Swim's Toonami. So, you know, yeah, I've been waiting almost 7 years for this. So I'll definitely, or this is a show that I'm willing to actually pay for a 1 month subscription to Max for. Like that is, and that's saying something because I've criticized Max a lot, especially in the past year or so, ever since it became part of Warner Brothers Discovery. Like I've definitely criticized that service a lot, but like Scavenger's Reign is a show that will get me to at least pay for a month of Max. Um, so yeah, that's saying something. But yeah, Scavenger's Reign. Um, I'm looking forward to Scavenger's Reign, and I hope you are too if you're a fan of animation because this show looks absolutely amazing, and I will definitely be watching it when it comes out. I hope you will be too. Um, but let me know if you're excited for it in the chat or in the comments. Next up, we have Captain Laserhawk, a Blood Dragon remix, um, also coming out on the 19th. Now, I will say I haven't played the Far Cry games. Or yeah, I haven't played them, especially Far Cry Blood Dragon. Wow, I cannot talk today. Um, excuse me. I have not played them, but what I will say is that Captain Laserhawk is coming from Adi Shankar, who actually did the Castlevania Netflix series, the original one, and I imagine probably has some sort of a role in Nocturne as well. Um, but he's also doing a lot of other Netflix animated series. So, yeah, I mean, definitely, or I'm definitely looking forward to this one. It looks, or from the trailers, it looks like it's going to be just a fun time to watch. So, even though I haven't played the games, I'm excited to watch the show. So definitely look out for it on Netflix. October 19th is when it comes out. And then also on the 19th, which that day is just going to be stacked with animation. We have Peter and the Wolf, which is a short film based on, I believe, a book of the same name, and it has illustrations by Bono from U2. Or so, if you're a fan of the band U2, um, yeah, maybe you might want to watch this, knowing that Bono has involvement in it. Um, or if you just want to see the animation, and because like just like with Scavenger's Reign, like the animation in Peter and the Wolf looks absolutely stunning. I will definitely be watching that as well. Um, but yeah, Peter and the Wolf is coming to Max October 19th, and I believe it'll also be on Cartoon Network at a later date. Don't quote me on that, but I think Warner Brothers Discovery um mentioned that it will be on Cartoon Network earlier this year at a or at an investor's call, I think. I think it was an investor's call. I'm not sure, but um, at an event earlier this year, Warner Brothers Discovery said that Peter and the Wolf is going to be on both Max and Cartoon Network. So it's going to release on Max first, and then it'll release on Cartoon Network at a later date. So yeah, so Peter and the Wolf, be on the lookout for that. It's coming out on the 19th. And then last but not least, at least for this list, is Pluto, which Pluto is based on like or it's based on Astro Boy by Osamu Tezuka, but also has some story beats from Monster creator um, Naoki Urasawa. So if you're a fan of either of those people, um, I highly recommend watching Pluto. I know I will be watching Pluto because from the trailers, it looks absolutely stunning. And yeah, it's like we have like a lot to look forward to this month in terms of animation. But Pluto is definitely is is one of the big ones that I'm looking forward to alongside Scavenger's Reign. Um, so yeah, be on the lookout for Pluto. It's coming out October 26th on Netflix. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this list. And I didn't even mention like any of like the anime that's releasing on services like Crunchyroll or High Dive because then I would be here like for a very long time. Um, but yeah, there's also anime releasing on Crunchyroll and High Dive. So if you want to watch, so if you want to watch some animation, like you're in pretty good hands this month. Like there's a lot of good stuff coming out this month. Um, I'm most excited for Scavenger's Reign, Pluto, and Pantheon season two. But let me know what you're most excited for in the chat or in the comments if you're watching this. Um, if you're watching this on demand. So the last topic that I wanted to talk about for tonight was that Crunchyroll is trying to expand into linear television or live TV. So, for those of you who don't know, like this just came out today. So Crunchyroll is hiring for a manager position for what's called the Crunchyroll channel. And I'm going to just read the about the role position, you know, to kind of give you an idea of what they're looking for. The manager Crunchyroll channel will drive development and management of the Crunchyroll channel linear TV in key markets globally in concert with with internal and external partners delivering on and contributing to content and user acquisition strategy. They will closely partner with the distribution, programming, operations, and marketing organizations in support of global commerce objectives, as well as the corporate objectives across all divisions. The manager of Crunchyroll Channel reports to the VP of Global Content Distribution. Okay, so there's there's some stuff to unpack there. Primarily, it looks like the Crunchyroll channel is going to be a linear TV channel. So this tells me that at least here in the US, that they may actually be looking to launch a cable channel, as opposed to a fast channel, which, if you don't know what a fast channel is, fast stands for free ad supported streaming television. Um, so that's for, when you think of fast services or channels, think of any of the channels that you see on a service like Pluto TV, or any of the live channels you see on like Tubi or Amazon Freevee or things like that. Like those are fast channels. Um so so what's interesting is, oh man. So what's interesting is that many media companies aren't really launching cable channels because cable viewership isn't great at the moment. Like, it's been pretty down across the board. So I mean, unless you're talking about some like live sports. Um, but other than that, yeah, cable viewership has been down across the board. So um I'm kind of surprised that Crunchyroll is actually going down this route, um, in terms of launching a linear TV channel. And it seems like, yeah, it seems like it's going to be a cable channel, since if they had, or if, I imagine this job description probably would have included uh fast in the job description if it was actually going to launch as a fast channel, but it's not. Um, so that tells me that this may actually be a cable channel, which, it's interesting to me, like, because anime or Crunchyroll is an anime streaming service, right? So anime was probably one of the first mediums of television um to embrace streaming. I mean, that's how Crunchyroll got its start. It started off as a piracy site, for crying out loud. But people were watching it because, like, there was just more anime to be consumed outside of what was being shown on TV at the time. Um and so, like, Crunchyroll kind of going into linear TV is kind of like the antithesis of like how Crunchyroll started, but I don't know. I think maybe they're seeing something that we're not, in terms of like how many people will actually want a linear TV channel for Crunchyroll. Because, I mean, when you think about it, Crunchyroll now has a majority of the anime market share. And so, like, when you look at how they've been treating um, lot or linear TV outlets, especially Adult Swim's Toonami, in terms of licensing Crunchyroll's shows. Like, Crunchyroll hasn't really been, or in recent years, Crunchyroll hasn't been willing to license new shows to Adult Swim's Toonami. And when we look at, this, or when we put, or when we look at that, and then we also look at like this position, or this job position for the Crunchyroll channel, which is something that they're definitely planning, right? Otherwise, they wouldn't have a job description, or otherwise, they wouldn't have a job opening for it. Like, when you start to put two and two together, like it actually now makes sense as to why they've been resistant, or why they've been, or why they haven't been like licensing their shows to Adult Swim, and Toonami, at least here in the US. In markets like Latin America, that may be different, but here in the US, like they haven't really been licensing, or Crunchyroll, and just, Sony in general hasn't really been licensing their shows to Adult Swim's Toonami. And now that this job opening exists, and we know that the Crunchyroll channel is in the works, now we see why that is. Um, and then another thing that stood out to me, is that it'll be, or the Crunchyroll channel will be launching in key markets globally. So what this tells me is that, obviously it's not going to be a US only thing. Like there will be different Crunchyroll channel offerings for different markets across the globe. Um, I know, like, or I know Latin America is probably going to be one of these key markets outside of the US. Um, just due to the fact that, before the Crunchyroll channel was in the works, and before Crunchyroll was even bought by Sony, Crunchyroll was actually part of what was then called Warner Media. So it was actually a sister or Crunchyroll was a sister company to, um like Adult Swim and Cartoon Network, um and Warner Brothers, and things like that. So like in Latin America, there was a Toonami block on Cartoon Network in Latin America, that was powered by Crunchyroll. Um, and so like Crunchyroll licensed their shows, or licensed some of their programming to that Toonami block on Cartoon Network, and then um, and was airing it at like late hours of the night, kind of like how the original Toonami here in the US had the midnight run, back in like the early 2000s. Same idea. Um, but that was only possible because, again, at the time, Crunchyroll and Cartoon Network were sister companies. Now that that's no longer the case anymore, that that Toonami block has since died. But Toonami will be coming back to Latin America, um, on Adult Swim in Latin America. So and now Crunchyroll, I think, is going to launch a channel in Latin America as well. It looks like they'll probably, or I'm thinking they're probably going to launch one in Latin America, the US. Um, they're probably going to launch it in Australia as well. I could see that happening. I could also see I could also see, like, maybe, like, some markets in Europe getting it, and then, like, some markets in, like, Southeast Asia, getting Crunchyroll as well. Um, I don't think every market, will have a Crunchyroll channel, but, some of the major ones, like, yeah, the US, Latin America, Australia, and Southeast Asia. I think those will all get the Crunchyroll channel at some point. But another part that I want to kind of expand on is the internal and external partners um, piece, because as you know, uh, Crunchyroll is owned by Sony, right? And Sony, before buying Crunchyroll, also bought out Funimation, which has kind of been absorbed into Crunchyroll. But they also have Aniplex, which has not been absorbed into Crunchyroll, even though most, if not all, Aniplex series are streaming on Crunchyroll. Um, so like between both Funimation and Aniplex, you have the internal partners down. Now, the external partners, um, that could be anyone from like, or that could be anyone from like, the Japanese licensors, because like some, or like with some anime they have to go back to the Japanese licensors to actually get permission to broadcast the anime on TV in their home country. So like I know Toonami does this. They have to go to the Japanese licensors, not just the English licensor, but like the Japanese one, they have to like go there and actually, or they have to not necessarily go to Japan, but like they have to contact the Japanese licensors to actually get permission um to air those shows on TV here in the US. Um, so I imagine Crunchyroll will have to deal with that, um, or we'll have to deal with that same thing when they launch the Crunchyroll channel, and as they're launching it. And so that's one thing that I could see in terms of, or that's one aspect of the external partners part of this job description, um, or that could happen in terms of like the actual launch of the channel. Um, but another thing is that they could actually be contacting other anime licensors. So, like Viz Media, for example. Viz Media is now pretty neutral in terms of like who they license their anime to, because as you've seen with Zom 100, it's on Crunchyroll, it's on Hulu, and it's on Netflix. So, like, Viz Media is pretty neutral, um, unless they have some sort of exclusivity deal. Um, like, Viz Media titles are like pretty, or Viz Media titles can go pretty much anywhere. So I could see Crunchyroll teaming up with them to, have some of the biggest anime titles, because Viz Media does have some of the biggest anime titles out there. Um, like Death Note, Naruto, Shippuden, and original Naruto. We have Inuyasha. We have, or Viz Media has like some of the biggest anime titles out there. So it wouldn't shock me um if Crunchyroll went to them to like actually get some licenses um in terms of like certain titles to air on the Crunchyroll channel. Um and then also um you also have other anime licensors like maybe Discotech, and yeah, just other kind of neutral licensors. I could see Crunchyroll going to for programming to put on the Crunchyroll channel. But yeah, it's been very interesting to see or this is a very interesting story to me because like um Crunchyroll expanding to linear TV is something that I didn't expect them to do. Um, we'll have to see what form that takes, especially here in the US, where cable has been on the decline. It'll be interesting to see what form that takes, or what form the Crunchyroll channel takes, whether it's a cable channel or if it's a fast channel on something like Pluto TV or Tubi or like Amazon Freevee or what have you. Um, so yeah, definitely or let me know your thoughts on Crunchyroll expanding to linear TV. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Let me know your thoughts in the chat or in the comments if you're watching this on demand. But yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for this stream. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you. Um, just remember the podcast is coming this week. That's something I plan on getting out before the weekend. And then we also have our gaming streams on Friday and Saturday of this week. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Um, I hope you have a great rest of your evening, day, or afternoon, depending on what or when you're watching this. And yeah, um, this has been Cells and Circuits, your place for tunes, tech, and where both intersect. I've been Chubeze, and I'm signing off. Later. Have a good evening.